Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to Radio Strong Style. Radio Strong Style is a New Japan Pro Wrestling fan podcast. This is a podcast for New Japan Pro Wrestling fans by New Japan Pro Wrestling fans. I am your host. My name is Disco Stu Suzuki, and we will be running down all of the news and headlines from the week, and we will give you an update on the Best of the Super Juniors nights 5, 6, and 7. But before we begin, now, ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct pleasure to present to you my co-host, back from an exclusive 3-year tour of Europe, Scandinavia, and the subcontinent. Won't you welcome, broadcasting from parts unknown, legendary show band leader, Tony Tigermask. Tony, how the hell are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Hope everybody out there is doing great. How are you today, sir? Good to see you again.
Yeah. It seems that we just did this a couple days ago. I'm doing great. You know, I just got off of my quote unquote day job. It is the middle of the night here, and we had a lot of wrestling that we've got to in the last few days, and I'm ready to talk some Best of the Super Juniors.
Yeah, me too. Let's get to it.
Yeah, let's do it. So, as we like to tell everybody at the beginning of the show, we are up on iTunes. So please, rate, review, subscribe. Please give us 5 stars. If you do give us a 5-star review, we will read it on the air, and we'll give you a toast, and we'll give you a shout out on the air. We are coming back pretty soon. We just recorded about 3 days ago, so we don't have a new 5-star review right now. Instead, I'm going to pour a toast for all the listeners out there, because we just want you to know we appreciate every single one of you, and all of you have our undying love and affection. So I'm going to pour out a little Henry McKenna, the 10-year single barrel bourbon whiskey, and this is for each one of the listeners out there. We love you guys. Two. Yeah, some good stuff. All right, so let's get into the news. First off, New Japan's LA Dojo. That's their new training facility that they just opened in Los Angeles. They have released 5 new blocks of dates for training sessions. They have remarked that the first dates were a success, and the following dates will be available for registration later. We don't know exactly when. They're going to be July 13th through the 15th, July 17th through the 19th, October 5th through the 7th, and December 3rd through the 7th. So that's exciting news that they're coming along so well. And the next piece of news we have is Johnny Mundo, John Hennigan, John Morrison, Johnny Nitro, the man of a ton of different names. I think maybe he's currently Johnny Impact over in Impact Wrestling. Apparently there are rumors that he himself has inquired about coming over to New Japan. Now, Johnny Mundo is part of Lucha Underground, and Lucha Underground is affiliated with AAA, and because they're affiliated with AAA, normally nobody from AAA gets to work in New Japan because New Japan is tight with CMLL. But apparently New Japan are kind of relaxing those restrictions, and the rumor is we might get John Morrison over in New Japan. How would you feel about that, Tony?
I think there's a bunch of interesting matches for him. If he were to make that deal and show up, it would he's a bona fide main eventer. So, he'd be right in there in the mix.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's great because, I do watch him on Lucha Underground, and I followed him. I've seen him in other promotions. I think he's doing pretty good on Impact. I don't follow Impact week by week, but I think he's a great wrestler. Yeah, and like you said, he's just a straight up superstar. He shows up in a promotion and he just brings legitimacy, and he can go. So he's definitely the kind of guy that you could see like going full blast and getting 5-star matches in New Japan. So we'll see how that rumor pans out. But next up, just happened today. Capcom released a new how do they describe it? A gameplay trailer for Street Fighter V Arcade Edition. They're announcing a new playable character, and that playable character is Mayor Cody And in the commercial, it starts off as a live action commercial, and Kenny Omega is playing the character of Mayor Cody. And that's an older character in the Capcom lore. He was in the original Final Fight, and now he's showing up in Street Fighter V, the arcade edition. And we also didn't 100% confirm it, but strongly implied that the voice that Kenny Omega is listening to on the other end of the telephone that calls him in the trailer is Xavier Woods. And of course, they both have connections with the CEO Fighting Game Championships, and they've had their own little grudge match in Street Fighter in the past. So did you get a chance to take a look at this thing, Tony?
Yeah, I thought it was cool. I thought it was a cool trailer. I don't, and I thought, I don't play too many video games these days, but I thought the video game looked cool, and I thought Kenny did a good job in the little acting at the beginning. And then I was saying that I think he must have done theater in high school or something, because his acting's pretty good, even if his selling can be a little over the top sometimes in the ring, a little bug-eyed facials and whatever. But we are talking about pro wrestling after all.
Yeah, I know. If you're playing to the, if you're in front of a camera, you don't have to go as big. You're in the ring. You got to play to the rafters.
Right, and he's able to, when he does act on this or be in the elite or other things, he is able to dial that in. So I thought it was cool. I thought it was good. Good for I like to see these guys get their outside opportunities and things like that. So I thought it was cool. And Street Fighter is one of the big franchises out there. So
yeah,
it was cool. It was
I haven't personally. I think the last Street Fighter I really got into was Street Fighter 4. I haven't got into 5 yet, but I am excited to just to see him in it. That, like you said, it was a really cool thing to see. I just wonder now. I think he mains as Abigail. I'm like, does he have to main as Mayor Cody now, since he played the guy in the trailer? But yeah, so we'll move on. So now we'll get into the Best of the Super Juniors nights 5, 6, and 7. On Thursday, May 24th, in Shiga, we had A block action. That was night 5 of the Best of the Super Juniors tournament. So we'll start with the block matches. Basically, all these shows aired on delay on NJPW World. So you're not getting the undercard. You're just getting the 4 tournament matches. So we'll be going over the 4 tournament matches from these 3 nights. So we'll start with what was match 5 of the night, but the first of the A block matches, which had Tigermask fighting Bushi, and Tigermask beats Bushi in 11 minutes and 16 seconds with a Tiger suplex hold for the pin. And in this match, Tigermask basically this whole tournament has been very methodical. He's coming in with a lot of stiff kicks, and he's basically just setting the pace of these matches that he's in. I don't have a ton of stuff to say about this particular match. I liked it. I did like Tigermask's performance. I like Bushi's performance. There was a thing I wanted to bring up. I was going to bring it up last episode, but I forgot to. And this is just a little bit of an Easter egg for video game fans. This Best of the Super Juniors tournament is presented by Fire Pro Wrestling World. So this is the new Fire Pro Wrestling video game. And this time they actually have the official NJPW license. So there actually is going to be the when you buy the game, it comes with the whole NJPW roster, and it's official, because this is the type of game where originally everybody was a generic version of a character. So they had a New Japan Pro Wrestling, a generic New Japan Pro Wrestling, and in those earlier iterations it was called View Japan. And so if you're looking at the ring during these tournament matches, they have the 4 turnbuckles. They got the 2 white ones, then they have the red turnbuckle and the blue turnbuckle. So one of them says View Japan, I believe it's the red one, and the blue one says Fire Pro Wrestling, or just says FPW for Fire Pro Wrestling. So I just keep noticing it on the red turnbuckle. It says View Japan, so that's just a fun little Easter egg for the Fire Pro Wrestling fans. So Tigermask wins this one, like we said, with the Tiger suplex hold. And what did you think of this match, Tony?
I thought it was a pretty good match. One thing I noticed that I thought is how well this tournament format lends itself to different stories to be told throughout. Like here, this is a guy, Bushi with 0 points at this point here, going on Tigermask, who's in the lead. So is he playing spoiler? Is he maybe trying to, go for the knee or whatever, and not so much in this match particularly, but the tournament format, those kind of storylines play out. And I thought that was kind of interesting here. Bushi kind of going at him a little harder than normal here, kind of maybe trying to knock him down a peg. Tigermask, the veteran, jumping out to the early lead here in the tournament. So
yeah, and also they like Bushi at this point, he's got to get wins. Like you don't want to be just getting zero. You don't want to get 0 wins. Like you're gonna get more desperate as you go along. You haven't picked up that first win. So like we said, Tigermask wins in this one, and so Tigermask improves to 3 wins, no losses. So he has 6 points. Bushi winless at this point, so 3 losses in a row, 0 points, bottom of the block. And we'll move on to match 6, the next match in the A block action on this night, and that showed Kanemaru versus ACH. Kanemaru beats ACH in 14 minutes and 4 seconds with his deep impact, and he gets the pin. So I like this match a lot. Kanemaru is growing on me. He's one of those guys that when Suzuki-gun came back from Noah, they brought Kanemaru with them, and he just kind of dude. You didn't really know what his deal was, but he started just carrying around the whiskey. So I think as Don Callis would call it, he calls it the Suntory surprise when Kanemaru just drinks the whiskey and spits it in the guy's eye. So Kanemaru spits the whiskey into ACH's eyes, and ACH does a good job of selling that he's blinded by the whiskey. And then Kanemaru hits a brain buster, gets a 2 count, and then Kanemaru gets up onto the top turnbuckle, sits on the top turnbuckle, and he jumps off towards ACH and then hits a DDT so he jumps off the turnbuckle, hooks grabs him with the DDT and just drops him down, and that's the deep impact. So it's actually kind of a cool finisher, and Kanemaru gets the win. So what did you think of this one, Tony?
I thought it was just a good solid match. Nothing particularly jumped out to me. Just a good solid match between these guys. That's all.
Yeah, so basically the story for ACH in this tournament is that his left arm is really bandaged up. He's selling the shoulder, selling the arm. And, Kanemaru just basically hit his basic Kanemaru spots. And Kanemaru picks up his first win on this with this match. So he's 1 win, 2 losses. So he has 2 points after this. And then,
I was surprised that he beat ACH because ACH had such good matches going up to this point. But
yeah, but
it's a long tournament.
So. It's a long tournament, and it's the story of the nagging arm injury for ACH. And ACH also remains at 1 win, 2 losses. So they both have 2 points there. And then we move on to match 7, the semifinal for this night. Flip Gordon fights the Bone Soldier, Taiji Ishimori. Flip Gordon beats Ishimori in 9 minutes and 27 seconds with the O'Connor leg roll clutch for the pin. And so first of all, I think we talked about this while we were watching, one of the nights we watched the matches. Ishimori has this kind of weird walk when he comes out to the ring, and we're discussing it. It's almost like he's doing like a skeleton walk or a zombie walk or something. It seems like a deliberate choice.
He's shambling.
Yeah, exactly.
He shambles to the ring like you said, like a skeleton.
Yeah.
I think it might be what he's going for.
So I think I literally think it's like he's going oh, I'm the Bone Soldier, I'm this skeleton character, so I'm going to do this little weird kind of skeleton walk. So it just had kind of been bothering me because I'm like, what is he doing? I don't get it. But I think we figured that one out.
Well, there's a match later on, I think on night 7, his match where the entrance must have been a little bit further away from the ring than it was. So I actually got a good long watch of him coming down, and it's definitely, I think, what he's going for with the skeleton dragging along.
Yeah, and then now there's another little spot that happens during the beginning of the match while they're doing the introductions. Flip Gordon, he comes out. He has his Book Flip shirt on. He's wearing pants, like these camouflage pants. And then when he comes out, he gets up onto the top rope, and they go Flip Gordon. He does a backflip off the top rope, off the top turnbuckle into the ring, and he rips his pants off in mid flip, like midair. Like, so when he comes down, he's now wearing trunks, like the pants are gone. So it's like Tai Chi's, like when he rips the pants off spot, but he does it so fast in midair. Like I almost think he's doing it too fast. Like it's almost, you don't even register that he took his pants off. You're just like, well, I guess he just walked out with those trunks on. Like I totally took me like 2 matches to figure out that's what he was doing. Now both guys are sitting at 2 wins and 1 loss. So what did you think of this match, Tony?
You want to talk about guys going too fast and then Flip going too fast with the pants there? I thought they kind of got ahead of themselves a little bit. Maybe Ishimori just looked a touch off through a pretty good section of this match. There was a hard knee from him to Flip, which led into a pretty cool sequence, but just Ishimori was constantly having to like kind of reposition himself to, to take the moves from Flip and kind of be there for him. But other than that, I thought it was a solid match between these guys. But yeah, like I said, I just thought it was maybe their timing just got off a little bit and they had to kind of catch back up towards the end. So
yeah, and this I believe this is the first singles match between these two guys. So Flip's a new, like you said, he's only been in 3 years. He's a younger wrestler. Ishimori, they haven't wrestled before. Maybe there's language difference there. So maybe that has something to do with it. But anyway, we will move on to match 8, the final from this night, or the A block action, and it shows Will Ospreay against Yo, and Will Ospreay beats Yo in 16 minutes and 28 seconds with the Stormbreaker. One of the things I noticed right at the beginning is that Ospreay did not come out with the belt, and which is a little weird because the champ's supposed to have the belt, so I don't know, maybe somebody's playing a rib on him in the backstage, or maybe his luggage got lost, or he forgot it, on the bus or something. And then during the match, there almost seemed to like Yo was gonna take Will Ospreay off the top turnbuckle into a move, and it was almost like a botch. Like it was like a near botch. It looked like it was gonna get real ugly, and then Yo basically saved it by turning it into like what almost looked like a snap superplex, like off the top turnbuckle. But like we said, Will Ospreay, he gets the win with his new finisher, the Stormbreaker. And after this match, both guys are at 2 wins, 1 loss, 4 points apiece. How'd this one strike you, Tony?
One thing I really noticed here, and I've been noticing throughout this tournament, is man, my boy Yo can sell his ass off. I like Yo's selling. And also, too, I noticed that the way Ospreay was throwing chops at the early part of the match where, everybody gets kind of, excited for these big, hard frying pan, boom, chops to the chest, real hard, like boom. But Ospreay was throwing those chops and they were quick and they were almost like, like knife strikes, man, just real quick, though, getting in there. And I was like, man, quick chops can be just as nasty as those big old clobber sandwiches. So, yeah. It was pretty good between these guys here.
The one thing I noticed, a move that I noticed kind of earlier in the match was Ospreay basically does like a 619 type move, but over the top rope instead of between the ropes. So he had like Yo in the corner, and he came around the top rope like a 619 and kicked him in the head. But a great match. I dug the hell out of it. So. Well, that was May 25th, and so now we're going to move into the shows to the Friday, May 26th show. That was at the Osaka Municipal Central Gymnasium, and this was B block action. It was night 6 of the Best of the Super Juniors 25 tournament, and we're going to start with match 5, the first of the B block matches. Marty Scurll versus Chris Sabin. Marty Scurll beats Chris Sabin in 13 minutes, 58 seconds with a move he calls the Black Plague. And so, I mean, it starts off basically like a technical back and forth. These are both guys that are like well versed in kind of technical wrestling. And Marty, the Black Plague is I think it's the way I described it when I saw the move as a dragon sleeper into like a suplex. So like the guy has him like he's gonna do a what do you call it, a scorpion death drop, but instead of doing that, he like flips him all the way up for a suplex. So how'd you feel about this one?
Well, the one thing I noticed here was not so much about the moves of the match, even though this was a good match, and I thought Saban was actually looking fired up in this match. Was Marty Scurll and his ability to play, he is, his moniker, the villain, but he is able to play effectively like all the different types of heels that you see, or all the different types of villains that you generally see on wrestling shows. He's a shit talking heel. He goes out there and he cuts promos and always has something to say, running people down. He's a chicken shit heel. He runs away. He can fight, and he's technical, and he can out wrestle you. But yeah, he's effective at playing all the different types of heels, which is the consummate villain, I suppose. So I thought his heel work in this match was good, and like I said, Saban was actually looking fired up in this match. So I was glad to see that from him, and maybe he's making a mid to late comeback in the tournament here.
Yeah, I will agree on that. Saban, this is the best he's looked in the tournament so far. Getting a little more fire out of him. And you're right about Marty Scurll, man. He can do it all. He can be like a serious, like, evil villain. He can be like, when he does little comedy spots are great. But he really is kind of an all around player. And I think I'm gonna have to agree with you on all of that. So we'll move on to the next match, and this was Taguchi versus Kushida. Now this match is the quickest match we've had so far in the tournament. 1 minute, 34 seconds. I believe you and I were watching this match, and we're talking, and then we turned away for a second, and it was over. Like we had to rewind it. Like what just happened?
Well, I had to say, I had to say to you, I said, do you realize this match this thing is only 5 minutes? This clip is only 5 minutes here. Like the slider's halfway across the screen already. What's going on? I thought that was having a bad connection or something.
Well, and that's the thing with Kushida, or not with Kushida, is with Taguchi being in that kind of he's basically more of like a comedy spoiler type character, that's the one minus about these being aired on delay, and you only getting like just the one match at a time, is that you see that this match is 5 minutes long, so you think like, oh, okay, there's gonna be some kind of shenanigans. But not really shenanigans. It's just Taguchi gets a small package win, rolls him up, and gets the win in 1 minute 34 seconds. Just a shock win. And,
those kind of things always kind of pique my interest at times though when I'm watching it, because now I want to see, okay, what happens here? What's going on?
Yeah.
So it doesn't necessarily ruin it for me that it was short. I'm like, oh, what goes on here? What? And then. So it was a shock for Taguchi to get the win here, but good for that guy.
Yeah, and this is another case of like New Japan just showing the audience like, hey man, these things can be done in 1.5 minutes. Like you got to pay attention. You can't just go like, oh, let me look at my phone for 10 minutes until they start ramping up to the finish. You got to pay attention because the match can be over just that quick. And both competitors stand at 1 win, 2 losses. They both have 2 points apiece. So, yeah, basically just got a super quick match with the surprise win. And now we move on to match 7. That's the third block match of the night. And that had Sho beating El Desperado in 12 minutes, 48 seconds with his move called the Shock Arrow for the pin. Basically, the Shock Arrow is that modified package pile driver that we've seen out of him, where he puts the arms through the legs and like crosses your arms, and then that's where he's holding on to. But it's just one of the most vicious moves that I've seen in a long time. But you got a lot of this one. It was a lot of basic Suzuki-gun stuff where they're going to the outside. Desperado's attacking with a chair. They do the count out tease. Desperado was working over Sho's knee.
Yeah, Suzuki-gun are some punks, man. They always got to jump somebody before the match, jump somebody after the match. They got some nefarious tactic, dude. There's some punks, dude.
Yeah, they are, but that's the thing. They are the true heels, where everybody else is like, oh, LIJ's cool, Bullet Club's cool. I mean, even technically speaking, Chaos is technically a heel faction. But every other heel faction in New Japan are cool. But Suzuki-gun are for real, man. Like they're just straight up heels. They're gonna cheat to win. They're gonna take any advantage they can get. And
there's some punks, man. I like it when they get theirs. So you know what I mean?
Yeah. But, man, when you got the baddest man on the planet leading you, the boss says, use the chair shot, you're going to use the chair shot, So the shock arrow, that crazy modified package pile driver for the win. Show gets the win. Both competitors, 2 wins, 1 loss. They both have 4 points apiece. Anything else to add on this one, Tony?
Just a couple little spots in the match. There was an armbar spot that Show was on there working pretty hard to get. It didn't end up finishing the match or anything, but he was working pretty hard to get it. There was a really hard jumping knee at one point that really kind of made me perk up. And I was really overall, I was really impressed with Show in this match. I thought he did good. So Roppongi 3Ks were impressing me through this tournament so far.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying seeing the Show and Yo as single competitors in this tournament. Also, Show does this last ride onto the double knees type move, and it's just a vicious looking move. I'm surprised it's not a finisher, to be honest. But yeah, a good match. I dug it. But now we're gonna go into the main event for this night of the Best of the Super Juniors, this match 8, and this is a match when it gets announced. Anytime it gets announced when these two guys are going to get into the ring together and a one-on-one match, it's a big deal. And this was Dragon Lee versus Hiromu Takahashi. These guys have had a feud that spans back to Hiromu's time in CMLL when he was Kamitachi under the mask. And these guys, it's crazy. It's just full speed ahead, and they're going to try to kill each other. They're going to try to kill themselves. I mean, just explosive. I mean, there's nothing slow happening in these matches. It's just full speed ahead, very kinetic, a lot of energy. And so basically Dragon Lee, he beats Hiromu Takahashi in 20 minutes, 48 seconds with the Dragon Driver for the pin. At the beginning, Dragon Lee comes out, and he's got a mask, and the mask is half Dragon Lee and half Kamitachi. And just that is that's a player move right there, man. That's he's getting into his head, oh man, look, I'm wearing your mask, in this match, I mean, just a ton of brutal slap exchanges and chop exchanges, a lot of no selling German suplexes. They get this spot a lot. Dragon Lee runs up behind Hiromu to snap German suplex, and then Hiromu just no sells it, bounces right back up, runs up, grabs Dragon Lee, does the same thing, and they do this a lot. They did it multiple times in the match. But basically, just a great match. Definitely top 3 matches of the tournament for me, for sure. But that's to be expected. I mean, you get Dragon Lee and Hiromu in a match, and you're not going to get anything less than a great match. What did you think of this one, Tony?
Well, this was my favorite match of the tournament by far so far. I really loved this one. Hiromu was the master of the slow ass entrance, so he was just taking his time to come out there. And then I really loved Red Shoes making sure there was no international objects in both guys' fringe. He was really going through it with his fingers there. And these guys, man, you're right, dude. These guys were going at it. They were slapping bacon right from the start. They came right at the beginning of the match, and they were just laying into each other's chests, man, just boom. And I was like, whoo. And there was a couple of those spots there. So there was a good, I think Hiromu had Dragon Lee just buried in a pile of folding chairs, and I'm always a sucker for those pile of folding chair spots like that. There was a really nasty flip pile driver, which, what level of trust do you have to have in another human being to take that move? Here, flip me over and spike me on my neck. That was impressive. And this was.
I believe that move is called the Mexican Destroyer. It's like a Canadian destroyer. The Canadian Destroyer.
That's the anyone destroyer.
Yeah,
that's the anybody destroyer. But
there was one spot I liked a lot. So we got a count out tease where they were both on the outside, and you're getting up to the 17, 18. The guy screaming, and Hiromu gets into the ring, and he walks up to the ref and puts his hand over the ref's mouth to stop the count. to let Dragon Lee get in so they can continue the match. Well, I just thought that was a great spot.
It was great. Everything about this match was I loved it. Even down to just even the costuming between the way what Dragon Lee was wearing with his gear versus the way Hiromu just comes out and he's just oozing sex. He looks like he just hit on your girlfriend in the back. Like this was awesome. This was my favorite match so far, and I just thought it was great. I can't say enough good things about it. The chop exchanges in this match too were just insane. So it was good.
And I'd have to go back and look at my other couple of top matches in there, but definitely in the running, if not the best match of the tournament. And then at the end, Dragon Lee cuts a promo in Spanish for the crowd, basically just I think just saying thank you to the crowd or whatever. But that was your main event for that night, and just great. Did you have any?
Well, I was going to say, here's a little digression, and we can keep this in or we cannot. But I wonder how they call the matches.
Oh yeah, when they don't
when they don't speak the same language, do they call it in? Do they know enough Japanese? Does he know enough Spanish to communicate? Do you call it in English? Is there like the universal code of the Brotherhood of the Ring, the language of?
I thought about this too, and I think. One, I think they've wrestled each other enough times. They've had many matches together in New Japan, so maybe they just know each other pretty well. But you look at Hiromu's time in Mexico, maybe he's probably picked up enough Spanish, and it's just like one word here or there. Like I think at this point, I think they're more like Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio. Like they didn't even need to talk to each other. They're just like inventing moves like midair and figuring some shit out. That's what I think that.
I just think that would add to the story if or a behind the scenes if you found out and they didn't even speak, they just went out there and called it in the ring, went off a feel, or they didn't go over, the language barrier. They didn't understand each other. So they just went out there and did it and had a great match. And I meant more in wrestling in general than these two specific guys, because they have wrestled so many times. You know what I mean? Well, I'm sure they know each other. Quite well.
As we're continuing this aside, but I know there has been issues where guys come from different countries. You get the original Sin Cara, the Mystico came to WWE, and I think there was an issue with him not learning English fluently. So he had an issue when they calling matches in the ring. So there is an issue there, but I don't know. I would expect, since Hiromu went on excursion to Mexico, that you're there for months, if not years. You got to learn the language a little bit, And same thing, if you go to Japan, you're gonna have to learn a couple of words here or there to what So I know what the guy means when he says this specific word. Means we're gonna do a suplex off the top rope or something, But anyway, so that was the end of that night. We'll get into Saturday, May 26th. This was at the Nagoya Congress Center event hall. This is A block matches. And the first A block match 5 of the night, Flip Gordon beats Tigermask in 11 minutes, 15 seconds with the move. I'm not sure if this is an accurate translation on the NJPW 1972 site, but they're calling it the 4 flippy splash. We'll describe what that move is later on, but basically Flip Gordon gets the win over Tigermask. And this match is very methodical attack from Tigermask, a lot of stiff kicks, and Tigermask is setting the pace. He is making Flip Gordon wrestle a Tigermask match. He's not letting this guy flip, flop, and fly around the ring. He's keeping him grounded. He's just delivering these real stiff shots. And basically, when we get to the end of the match, what the 4 flippy splash is Flip is on the outside. Tigermask is prone in the ring, face up. Flip is on the apron, and he grabs the top rope and kind of slingshots himself over the top rope. But as he gets to the top rope, he puts his knees onto the top rope and bounces into a forward flip down into a splash. And then he gets to 1, 2, 3. And so I guess he's calling that the 4 flippy splash. Like I said, I don't know 100% on that one. But what did you think of this one, Tony?
Well, definitely Flip. I thought it was a good performance from him with Tigermask controlling the pace, but I thought Flip, for his end, you could see him. It sort of looked like he was always trying to build up a head of steam. He was trying to get a good run going, trying to get a good, some momentum built up to get going with his offense, and Tigermask would just cut him off and hold him down and stop him. And then there was a part where Tigermask hesitated. He hit Flip with a move, and he hit him with the tombstone and dropped him. And then he hesitated and got up and put his hands on his knees and kind of looked, and then he got up to the headbutt, and I was like, man, that's a rookie move. You got to capitalize. Your old ass should know better than that. Get up there. Yeah. You're leading this tournament. Get up there and get this guy. And then he got beat. So, good on Flip for taking out the veteran, and now they're tied at the top. So we'll see what happens from here.
Yeah, so the Tigermask takes his first loss of the tournament. He had the first 3 matches. He had wins. After the match, Tigermask and Flip, they shake hands, and Tigermask raises Flip's arm. So it was, good sportsmanship after the match. So both opponents sit at 3 wins, 1 loss, 6 points apiece. So this is the top of the A block right now. Is Flip Gordon and Tigermask.
And Flip has beat Tigermask, who's the veteran and leading in the points lead, and he's beat Ishimori. So, he's got two big wins in this thing so far.
Yeah, and I like that they gave Tigermask those 3 wins. So when he put over Flip Gordon, it means more. It's like, okay, this is the guy. This guy's undefeated in the tournament, and now he's putting over Flip Gordon. So they're making Flip look strong. They made Tigermask look strong. I enjoyed the match. It's a slower match by the standards of the best of the Super Juniors tournament, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. And then we'll move on to the next match. And this had ACH beating Yo in 12 minutes, 4 seconds with the Soul Buster. So basically the Soul Buster is a cradle DDT, kind of cradles the guy and then drops him into a DDT. And that's about all I have to add on this one. You get a lot of big chops from ACH. So there's the one good spot that I really enjoyed in this match. Yo comes off the top turnbuckle and hits a crossbody onto ACH. They roll through. ACH picks up Yo, puts him into a fireman's carry and drops him into the Death Valley Driver. That was only for a 2 count, but like we said, at the end of the day, ACH picks up the win. And how did you feel about this one, Tony?
Just a solid match between these guys. I thought ACH is going to end up a mummy by the end of this tournament with all the trainer tape. He just keeps coming out with more and more on him. It's like this has got to be a running gag here, right?
Yeah, right.
But again, Yo's selling was on point, and that Roppongi 3K theme song is something else, man. That song gets stuck. That gets in my head, and it's all day, man. 3K,
I was a little
3K.
Yeah, it's growing on me more because my thing was I was such a big fan of the original Roppongi Vice theme,
which is great. Great too.
Again, another great song. So I
would even say that's a great theme song. This one is it's something else. I don't know.
Yeah. But it gets the job done, man. I enjoy it. I thought, like I said, a good match, and and there's still, like I said, the whole story for ACH is he's got this injured arm, he's fighting through it. But that little cradle DDT that he does, the Soul Buster, man, it's a great finisher. I dig a lot. I dig it a lot. And we'll move on to the semifinal for this night, match 7. Kanemaru beats Ishimori in 14 minutes and 55 seconds with the small package. The small package.
Drunkle Whiskey Breath versus Bone Soldier. Yeah. Suzuki-gun always spitting on somebody, or just in New Japan. Somebody's always spitting on somebody, spitting something at people. A lot of spitting going on in New Japan.
Suzuki-gun, don't matter a bottle of water, a bottle of whiskey, doesn't matter what's lying around. They're going to fucking drink it, and they're going to spit it onto the crowd, onto the other wrestlers. And then you got, Bushi spitting mist on people. You got, just there's a lot
Naito,
of going on.
Naito hawking phlegm on Jericho and everyone around.
Yeah,
you got
100%.
Killer Elite Squad going around spitting at everybody. Everybody's just a lot of spitting going on.
So one spot I really liked a lot in this one, we already discussed Bone Soldier's shambling skeleton walk, but Ishimori gets the jump at the beginning of the match, just like Ishimori gets the jump on Kanemaru, which I
thought was good. Giving Suzuki-gun a taste of their own shit. Like I said,
exactly.
Those guys are punks, man.
Well,
give it back a little bit.
You can see that he's watched the tape. He's like, hey man, this guy's gonna jump me before the bell, so I better get the jump on him. But as the match moves on, Ishimori, he goes for a handspring off the ropes, but Kanemaru is running right behind him and baseball slides. So basically, as Ishimori is going for the handspring, he's hands down, feet up in the air, bouncing off the rope. And at that exact moment, Kanemaru is doing a baseball slide right into Ishimori's face. And I just thought it was a great spot. I was like, man, that's the way to do it. It was like, it happened so fast. It was just great. And they get out into the stands. Kanemaru throws Ishimori into the chairs. Also, there was a draping DDT move, which is kind of surprising that we're going to get a draping DDT move in New Japan. I mean, personally, I would think that would have been banned after Hanma, because that's the move that Hanma broke his neck on. Now, obviously, Hanma had been damaging his neck for years, and it was probably just wrong place, wrong time, and it didn't matter what move it was. His neck was just so fragile. But he does a drape. But Kanemaru. Yeah, so Kanemaru gets the draping DDT on Ishimori off the apron onto the floor. And it's just a brutal-looking move, man. I just thought it was a great spot. So what were you thinking on this match? I mean, how did this one come across to you?
Well, I find Kanemaru to be a little bland, but I was kind of surprised to see him get to pick up the win over Ishimori here, but Ishimori already pinned Ospreay, so he's probably going to get a title shot down the road. So, and he's had a good showing in the tournament too. So I guess, but there was at the very end of the match, and this is all I'll say about the last thing I'll say. There was a young lion in the ring steps, and either he was drunk or these ring steps must have weighed 700 pounds because this dude was struggling. But but yeah, I was a little surprised to see Conor get the win, but it was a pretty good match.
Yeah, I dug it, and the fact that it's he gets the win with just a small package that's kind of a surprise. But that's you don't see that in you're not going to see a small package win in WWE, or at least I don't remember the last time one of those happened. But so that's how it ended, and both guys are tied at 2 wins, 2 losses. They both have 4 points apiece, so they're firmly in the middle of the pack. And so we'll move on. Match 8, the final, the main event of this night. Bushi beats Will Ospreay, 14 minutes, 47 seconds with the MX for the win. The only thing I really noted on this one is Ospreay actually has the belt this time, so he found it, or he remembered to bring it out with him. This time he didn't leave it in the shitter or whatever happened the last one. But again, you're getting Bushi attacking Ospreay on the outside with the chair. Bushi's working the neck. That's been kind of the story of Ospreay, is his neck and his whole upper back has been damaged.
I fear for that guy's neck.
Yeah,
he takes moves on that neck, and I'm like, man.
Yeah, and like we discussed before, Ospreay just screaming it's really noticeable now, man. Any move, he just is screaming like his life is ending. And I don't know. It's starting to wear on me now. The more it happens. So the good one was Will Ospreay suplex Bushi. They were on the floor, and then he suplexed him so Bushi landed on the apron. I thought that was a cool move.
I have that noted too. That was nasty, man.
And then later on, Will goes for the Stormbreaker. Bushi gets out of it. Then you got the ref distraction. Bushi hits the mist, and then only gets the 2 count. And then Ospreay's just got the black mist. That's supposed to be the poison mist all over his face. and the young lions give him like a bottle of water so he can like kind of rinse the mist out of his eyes. Bushi hits the Mexican Destroyer, gets a 2 count, and then he gets up onto the top turnbuckle, hits the MX 1, 2, 3. Bob's your uncle. So Bushi gets his first win. And what did you think of this one?
I was surprised to see Bushi get the win. Hopefully he's got a comeback story coming up in this tournament here and can make some moves going into the latter half of this thing. And for him to pin the champ, hopefully that means, bigger things down the road. Get a title shot or something down the road. I'll be interested to see where that goes, because these things don't go nowhere, especially in New Japan. They definitely plant the seed. So
yeah. Well, like I said, so when we were talking about like how we were picking the, earlier episodes, we were talking about how we were picking who was going to win. And I said, I thought it was going to be Bushi. And Bushi, obviously, 3 losses to start the tournament. He finally gets a win here. The win is over the champion. So basically, in these tournaments, if you win, you pin the champion, you're basically guaranteed a title shot down the line. And to me now that means, I would love to see Bushi, get a great showing and move forward and maybe have a comeback to win. But now I'm kind of pegging him for middle of the crowd because he got the win over the champ. So now you can just kind of coast and say, hey, man, I pinned you, so I deserve that title shot.
Or he could play spoiler to the eventual winner or something like that.
Oh, yeah. I definitely think later on, like that's maybe, he gets a big win on the last night and, plays spoiler for somebody. So we have Bushi, first win. He's at 1 win, 3 losses. So he's at 2 points. Ospreay is at 2 wins, 2 losses for 4 points. And that was the final of that night. Did you have anything else to add, Tony?
Just to speak to the overall quality of these matches that we've been watching through this whole tournament, man. These guys, when you're in this tournament, the best of the Super Juniors, man. You're among the best in the world in this tournament. And, I feel like I keep repeating myself saying, oh, that was a good match. That was a good match. But like in a tournament like this with these caliber performers, you're either going to get a good match or you're going to get an excellent match.
Yeah,
you're not going to get a bad match or these guys are top flight performers. So I've been really impressed with everybody this far, and it's just been, I'm looking forward to the latter half of this thing.
Yeah, and I really think they're trying to like lift up the G1, they're trying to lift up the best of the Super Juniors to like be on the same level as the G1. Like this is it. This is the premier like junior weight tournament. But like you said, every match has been great. Even the quick like the minute and a half match we had with the quick roll up pin, small package win, even stuff like that. It's awesome. Like we haven't had a bad match. We've had either good matches or great matches. Or even a match that may not necessarily be my personal cup of tea, the most entertaining thing I've ever seen in my life. It's still a really good, solidly wrestled match as far as the actual wrestling goes. So I'm just, like I said, I've been impressed the whole way through. So yeah, and so now we'll move on. We're just gonna go through the actual block standings of where we're at through night 7. Block A has Flip Gordon and Tigermask at the top with 6 points apiece. And then you have Kanemaru, ACH, and Ishimori, and Will Ospreay. So you have the 4 of those guys each have 4 points. That's like they're right behind the leaders. And then you got Yo and Bushi each have 2 points apiece, pulling up the rear in the A block. And then over on the B block, Dragon Lee is alone in the first place position with 6 points. Show and Desperado right behind him with 4 points. And then you got 5 guys after that: Sabin, Kushida, Marty Scurll, Hiromu, and Taguchi, and they each have 2 points. So I mean, how are you feeling about these block standings? Dragon Lee. I would love to see Dragon Lee, come on top on the B block. But how are you feeling about this, Tony?
I think Dragon Lee's just been one of the most impressive out of this whole tournament here, and I think that competition in that A block, looking at these standings here, is really heating up and been good, and in the B block as well. It's just everybody's only got the 1 win, so they're wins are hard to come by unless your name is Dragon Lee in that B block. So
yeah,
you know.
Yeah, B block really. I mean, like, Dragon Lee's out to a good lead, but it still is. I mean, at this point in the tournament, it is anybody's game. Like, I don't think there's been any mathematical eliminations yet. And yeah, I still would love to see Tigermask stay at the top of the block and on the A block, but we'll see how that goes. But it's like, so far, man, this tournament has really been delivering, like, above and beyond what anybody, like last year, everyone's like, oh, that's the best one in ages, and it looks like this year is gonna top even that. So yeah, I think we're gonna. You got anything else to add right now, Tony, or do you want to just bring this old bad boy home?
No, man. Let's wrap this up and get on out of here.
All right. Well, okay. So that has been our coverage of the Best of the Super Juniors tournament up through night 7. There are going to be so just a quick programming note before we wrap this up. Generally speaking, we here at Radio Strong Style, what we're looking to do is have like one show a week. Basically, we're going to try to record on Thursdays. We're going to try to have the show out on that weekend. So every we don't want to specifically say a time, but on Friday or Saturday, we're going to post the show. And so every week, at the end of the week, you can get your new dose of Radio Strong Style, and we can, sit back and chop it up about some New Japan Pro Wrestling. But when it comes to these tournaments, there's just so many shows happening in such a quick amount of time. We can't wait for another week. If we had waited another week, we recorded on Thursday. Now we're recording on Sunday. If we had waited all the way till next Thursday, I mean, we would have been looking at 6 or 7 block shows in a row, and it would have just been way too much. We would have to have
50. We'd have 52 matches to cover.
Yeah, we'd have a 3-hour show. It would just be it's unreasonable to expect people to want to listen to that. So we decided when we have this many shows in a row, we're gonna try to pepper in like more episodes. So especially when we get to the G1, there's just gonna be so much content. We're gonna have to come in, with maybe 2 or 3 episodes in a week instead of just doing the 1 episode a week. But this has been Radio Strong Style. We're wrapping this bad boy up. I'd like to thank Tony Tigermask for joining me. Tony, you have any parting words of wisdom to leave the lovely people at home with?
I just hope all you fine people out there have a wonderful long holiday weekend. Get at me on Twitter and Instagram, Tony Tigermask with capital T's, and we'll see you out there.
Yeah, so as always, you can follow us on Twitter. We are at @RStrongStyle. That's the letter R and the word Strong Style. On Instagram, we are at Radio Strong Style. And as always, you can email us questions, drink recipes, hate mail, love letters, whatever you'd like to send us. Bitcoin, can people send us Bitcoin through the email? I don't know. I'm an old man. I don't know how that works. But it is radiostrongstyle@gmail.com. So please send us something. If you have any questions or comments, if you have a question, maybe we'll read it on the air. I don't know if we're at quite the point to doing like a questions kind of episode. But ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank you for listening tonight, and I'd like to thank you for being such a good-looking audience. And we'd now bid you good night, and I'd like to leave you with the words of the warrior poet Satoshi Kojima. Hello, everyone in the bread club. I worked out and ate at McDonald's. I like muffins. I want to eat muffins around the world. I like muffins as much as wrestling. Baby. This was Radio Strong Style. Don't forget to tip your waitress.
They built us bigger than ever, stronger than ever, forever. Rocky loaded, yo loaded, show loaded.
Hold up, man. I got a fart.